Harry T. Hayward, born around 1865 in Macoupin County, Illinois, was the offspring of William and Lotus Hayward. When he was just an infant, his family relocated to Minneapolis, Minnesota. At the age of 6, they briefly returned to Illinois, residing there for approximately a year. Subsequently, upon their return to Minneapolis, Hayward commenced his education, initially attending a private school for 6 months before transitioning to a public one. Accounts from his school peers unveiled instances of Hayward being involved in bullying and mistreating domestic animals. After completing his high school education, Hayward secured employment as a clerk. However, by the time he reached 20, he had developed what would today be characterized as a gambling addiction. Despite receiving Catholic religious instruction during his youth, Hayward veered towards literature advocating atheism. He used the content of these writings to rationalize his self-centered worldview and engage in criminal activities. In January of 1894, Harry Hayward crossed paths with Catherine Kitty Jing, a tenant in his parents' residence at the Ozark Flats building on Hennepin Avenue and 13th Street. Using his persuasion skills, he convinced her to advance him substantial sums of money, which he subsequently squandered through gambling. When Jing eventually demanded the return of her funds, Hayward resorted to paying her off with counterfeit currency. In private conversations, he referred to her as an easy target. On December 3, 1894, tragedy struck as Jing's lifeless body was discovered with a gunshot wound behind her ear, lying by the roadside near Lake Calhoun. It later emerged that Hayward had coerced her into purchasing a $10,000 life insurance policy, designating him as the sole beneficiary. Curiously, Hayward took on an active role in the search for the murderer. He emphasized Kitty's financial dealings with him, insinuating that someone had killed her over the money owed. Unbeknownst to Harry, his brother Adrai confided in a family friend named Levi Stewart, revealing that Harry had solicited him to eliminate Kitty. Stewart promptly contacted the Hennepin County Attorney's Office. Adrai disclosed that the actual perpetrator was Claude Blixt. Following Blixt's confession, both he and Harry Hayward were apprehended by law enforcement. Harry Hayward faced trial for first-degree murder, commencing on January 21, 1895, presided over by Judge Seagrave Smith. Handling the prosecution was Hennepin County Attorney Frank M. Nye. The defense team representing Hayward featured two prominent figures, William Irwin, renowned as the Tall Pine Tree of the Northwest, and John Day Smith, a Baptist deacon and Republican state senator. Smith's personal experiences as a soldier in the 1st Regiment Minnesota Volunteer Infantry during the American Civil War had transformed him into Minnesota's leading advocate against the death penalty. The trial, as reported by Walter Trenery, spanned a considerable 46 days and included testimony from 136 witnesses. The prosecution's key witnesses were Claus Blixt, the triggerman, and Harry's elder brother, Adrai Hayward. The defense made an unsuccessful attempt to have Adrai Hayward's testimony declared inadmissible, claiming his mental state rendered him insane on the subject. When the defense had its turn, Hayward took the stand himself and vehemently denied all allegations. On March 8, 1895, the jury rendered a verdict of guilt for Hayward on the charge of first-degree murder. On March 11, Judge Smith pronounced the death penalty by hanging. In the early hours of December 11, 1895, Harry T. Hayward met his fate at Hennepin County Jail. The evening before, on December 10, he expressed his sentiments about members of the clergy, stating, "I have respect for these gentlemen and wish to treat them with courtesy, but I do not hold any interest in religion. Typically, individuals in my situation turn to religion in anticipation of their final moments, but I find no need for it. I am at peace." At midnight on December 11, John Day Smith visited Hayward and secured a promise from him to publicly profess his faith in Jesus Christ from the gallows. Shortly thereafter, Hayward was attired in a somber black robe and cap and escorted to the gallows by Hennepin County Sheriff John Holmberg. As he walked towards the scaffold, Hayward greeted the onlookers with a cheerful "good evening" and even requested 3 cheers for himself. When asked if he had any last words, Hayward delivered an extensive and humorous speech, cracking jokes about his impending demise. One observer recalled that the spectators regarded him as though he were a theatrical performer about to take a bow, receive applause, and exit the stage. Eventually, Hayward honored his pledge to Smith, saying, "He is a man of faith, and I promised to say what he asked of me. So, I pledged it to him, though if I truly believed it, I would say it for my own peace of mind. It goes like this: Oh, God, for Christ's sake, forgive me for my sins." Regarding his brother Adrai, Hayward stated, "He has not wronged me. I have wronged him greatly and unjustly, and I have sought his forgiveness, which he granted." Hayward's somewhat irreverent monologue persisted until Sheriff Holmberg intervened, instructing him to meet his fate like a man. Hayward's limbs were then restrained, and the noose was placed around his neck. With a smirk and the words, "Keep up your courage, boys," he prepared for the inevitable. His final utterance was, "Pull it tight, I'll hold steady." The gallows trap swung open at 2:12 a.m., but due to a miscalculation in the rope length, Hayward suffered a slow strangulation. He was officially declared deceased at 2:25 a.m. Sheriff John Holmberg received compensation of $250 for his role in the execution.